This program is brought to you by Real Estimate, Australia's #1 property value estimate. Get your real estimate today on realestate.com.au.
Thanks for being with us here on Business Now. Well, look, being Monday, let's go around the country and just see how the housing markets fared over the weekend. And nationally, there were 2,651 auctions. It was the busiest weekend of the year. The clearance rate you can see here, just shy of 63%, so a touchdown on the previous week. In Sydney, there were 1,027 auctions. That's about 25% more than the previous week. The clearance rate here, 63.4%, is also higher. Plus, there were also an extra 1,600 private sales across New South Wales. In Melbourne, 1,088 auctions, but the clearance rate, which was close to 70% last week, was under 65%. There were also around 1,180 private sales in Victoria. In Brisbane, 107 auctions, 63.6% of them were sold, plus another 1,120 private sales. In Adelaide, South Australia, the hottest property market in the country, 77 auctions, a clearance rate still above 70%, plus 293 private sales. In the ACT, 70 auctions, 71% sold, and also 110 private sales. And in Perth, just the 2 auctions, they both sold, and around 600 private sales on top of that. So plenty of buyers and sellers. The question is whether demand in the market continues to outstrip that supply. Let's bring in here the senior economist with REA Group and a former economist at the Reserve Bank, Paul Ryan. Paul, many thanks for your time. I mean, that shows that despite everything you heard from the Reserve Bank last week, despite everything that now people are saying that the interest rate cuts are further off, property buyers don't care.
The market has started very, very strongly. There were more scheduled auctions last weekend than at any weekend we've seen since 2021. Part of this is a bit of a pull forward because Easter is early this year, but we've got more than 1,200 auctions scheduled over Easter. That's almost unheard of.
Well, that's unheard of because people are away and you generally don't want to hit one of those main months. So just explain that. Can you make sense of the appetite for property buyers to buy at any price right now?
So we've been surprised by the strength of demand coming into this year. We saw home price growth soften a bit in late 2023, but it looks like really people joined the market this year and thought, well, you know, when interest rates go down, my budget is going to be higher. I want to get in before that that tidal wave of demand. So really we're seeing these early effects of changed interest rate expectations, and expectations have pushed out a bit, but I think we've seen more people coming to the market because of those.
All right, so you and I also, because we've talked about it a lot and people might even listen to that, but the reality is there's a lot of talk out there of a housing shortage, of the fact that rents are going through the roof, and interest rates potentially are coming down at some stage. There's your perfect recipe to be a property buyer.
Absolutely. I think fundamentally you can see the shortage in the housing market in the rental market. You can see rental availability is at around 1% nationally. Pretty much any property that's advertised for rent across the country, every single market is snapped up almost immediately. And then we've got rent growth running at above 10% per annum. And that doesn't look like slowing down anytime soon. So you can see where there's a lot of this fundamental demand. Anyone that can purchase a house is trying to get into that purchase market because they know that rents, housing costs in general, have just gone up and are expected to keep going up.
Well, it's really interesting because if you looked at the employment numbers last week, which obviously were a surprise coming at 3.7%, but again, that could be a monthly aberration who we'll find out in the future. But if you looked across the states, there really were no weak states when it came to the employment market right now. And that's the second thing that I'd imagine is propping up the housing market, is that people can pay their mortgages. There's nobody going in default. There are no soft parts of our economy right now.
Yeah, that's a big one. We're not seeing arrears increase. Most people have their jobs. People are able to afford their mortgage. And really, when you think about people making these long-term decisions like buying a home, it's employment stability that they look at first before making those decisions.
So therefore, can you coordinate that or rationalise all this with the softness of Australia's economy? So Australia's economy is softening. It's not certainly where New Zealand is going into recession. Our interest rates haven't gone as high, but it's certainly not as robust as it would be normally. And we know that demand from consumers is 50% of Australia's economy.
I think the relevant facts to look at here is wages growth. And wages growth has been picking up. It remains pretty solid. And that's the things that when people are doing their sums on entering the housing market and thinking about what's the next 5 to 10 years going to hold, if they're looking like staying employed because unemployment rates are really low and wages growth is pretty solid, those are the preconditions to getting this really strong demand conditions we're seeing in the market.
Okay, one very quick one for you. Is there any weakness anywhere in Australia's housing market that you can see right now?
Really, Hobart is the one market that we're looking at and is showing a bit of weakness. We saw prices run up. Hobart is really one of the best performing markets if you go back 10 years. Hobart and Sydney are the two strongest. But over the past couple of years, I think maybe prices have overrun fundamentals there. Prices are really close to Melbourne, a much, much bigger market. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out because we've actually seen rental markets tighten in Hobart considerably. So this may turn around as well.
I'll tell you what, it's good to always chat to you, Paul. Many thanks for your time on the program today.
Thanks very much.
There you go, Paul Ryan there.